You are tuned into the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution and your host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, MD, MBA. The purpose of this show is to help mitigate health disparities, improving literacy related to health, economics, and education. For all your professional development, professional management, and educational support services needs, contact Test Taking Solution, where we're igniting success. Located at 2104 Thousand Oaks Drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Literacy is knowledge and knowledge is power. Thank you for joining the Literacy Hour. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution. This is our Financial Literacy Tuesday. Yeah, I say it kind of somberly. And you'll find out why if you stay tuned. I want it to be known far and wide that really our health is our wealth. Let me say that again. Our health, you all, is our wealth. Physical fitness and mental well-being are the two main factors that people consider when evaluating their overall health. But there's a third leg to that stool. The third leg is financial health, and it's often overlooked. So during this hour, I'll provide you with several strategies to keep your financial health and wealth management on track. And I know what I'm talking about. I've been a small business owner since July 2020. And in this day and time, to have maintained a staff of 7 to 9 grown people, paying payroll taxes, insurances of all kinds, salaries, lights, water, trash removal, garbage removal, mortgages, both for my business location and home, all the while during a crisis, because no matter what anyone tells you today, we are in a crisis. Small businesses are holding on for dear life right now with how expensive everything has gotten, and it seems that the prices keep going up. Listen, big name businesses like Southwest is experiencing a massive layoff right now. Joanna, which is a fabrics and craft store, is shuttering 500 of its stores. Not 5, not 50, 500. Our federal government has laid off thousands of workers. And we expect small businesses to keep going. And sometimes we expect small businesses to operate and provide services for free. That's what nonprofits are for. We cannot afford to give away too much right now. And of course, it hurts my heart, but it is what it is. This is the time to truly understand the value of a dollar and the interconnection of health and wealth. The relationship between health and money often goes unnoticed and definitely not talked about. I don't ever hear anyone talking about health and wealth and the interconnection of the two. However, these seemingly unrelated aspects of life are intricately linked. Stress kills. Stress from financial hardships can lead to deteriorating mental health. It can also take a toll on your physical health. Being in poor mental health can lead to making questionable financial decisions, buying things that you know you cannot afford, especially right now. Let me say it again. We are in crisis mode. And if you don't think so, call in and let's talk about it. 601-714-8378. I'd love to have a conversation with you. You debate your side, saying that we're not in crisis mode, and I'll debate mine. And if your physical health lands you in the hospital, your financial health may take a hit from medical bills. Financial health can also take a hit if you happen to be in the hospital and you're the breadwinner, you're the CEO of the company, or God forbid, you're the actual provider of the services at your company. Now your business stops. It's real. So I really want us to understand that our financial health is the backbone of our security. And there are three things we can do starting today if we have not thought to do them already. We're going to be forced to do them if we intend to survive and to thrive during this very crisis mode time. And I understand that crisis is relative. Certainly for billionaires, perhaps this is not a crisis time. But for middle class and poor working folk, and poor people in general, people living in poverty, it's crisis mode time. We are in a crisis. So we have to do three things. Number one, we got to establish a budget. Whether you're writing it down or it's a budget that you just go by in your mind, we have to do it. We have to create a budget. It's the first step toward achieving financial wellness, getting paid a certain amount of money and then spending that money in certain places and on certain things. That's a budget. And a well-planned budget can help us all gain control over our finances. Helps us to identify bad spending habits. If every time we get paid, we run out and get, well, I almost said it, so I may as well go ahead and say it, a lottery ticket, and we haven't paid our bills, then that might be a bad financial decision. And I say might because now I understand the other side of the coin in that you might hit the jackpot. So for you, it was not a bad financial decision. It was a pretty good one. You see how things are relative? So that's why I'm real slow about criticizing and putting my mouth on things or people because sometimes we just don't know what we're talking about. And we got to be very careful when we're telling people that this is bad or that is bad. I'm telling you something that I know is good this morning, and that is we must establish a budget. Number two, formulate a savings plan. Yeah, I know as a small business owner, it's tough to save. You heard all the things I just listed off. I know all about it. Payroll taxes, you're matching what's coming out of your employees' checks. In case some of you didn't know, because you're not running a small business, we're paying taxes on what we receive and taxes on what we spend. We are in crisis mode. And for those of us who love people and love our employees and love our staff, we're trying to hold on. But they say a savings plan ensures financial security. They say a savings plan ensures peace of mind. Now, I don't know how true it is. Certainly, I know how to save and have a savings. Um, but how many of you have to tap into your savings in order to have a peace of mind? An effective strategy, they say, is the 50-30-20 rule. Yeah, 50-30-20. 50% of your income goes toward necessities, those things that you need. Necessities, needs. They're synonyms, same thing. Thank you for tuning in to the Literacy Hour. We're going to review some things you already knew and perhaps learn some things that you did not. I don't know everything, so if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, but I'm going to find out. 50-30-20. 50% of your income goes toward necessities. 30% goes towards wants, desires. 20% towards savings. Now, that's what they say will help you have financial security and a peace of mind. However, this formula is flexible, and it had better be because I don't know about you, but all the expenses I just listed off, and I didn't include groceries. Don't let me get started about groceries. Went in the store the other day, and a dozen of eggs was $9. 18, a carton of 18 was $13. We're almost it we are nearing $1 an egg. But I don't hear tell of any salaries going up. Minimum wage still $7.25. Really? Again, this 50-30-20 formula is flexible. But I want you to know that many times 50% doesn't go towards necessities. It's more like 80 to 90%. That's when you're holding on for dear life. That's when you're in crisis mode. And I've heard from many of you, several, you have called my office. You have texted, you have emailed. Do I know of any jobs? And I say, yes, I know of several people who are hiring, but they tend to be chain restaurants, factories. And for whatever reason, some people don't want those jobs. Well, I don't know what else to tell you. But it's getting tough, tougher. It's always been tough for a certain group of people who built this country. It's always been tough. When you worked and built a country for free. 400 years, I'm talking no compensation, no benefits plan, no 40 acres and a mule, no anything. And you're expected to survive and thrive. The descendants of those who did this type construction, farming, picking of cotton, are expected to thrive. Programs that were put in place to help correct or help at least address some of these issues, disparities, are being rolled back at in lightning speed. All in the name of let's get rid of DEI programs. Let's get rid of wokeness. Let's get rid of DEI code word for black. And all this time, I thought it truly was diversity, equity, and inclusion for all. Our diversity is our strength. Having multiple perspectives at the table, I have found always, not sometimes, always brings greater light to a situation and it helps to solve problems more quickly. And we're rolling it back, cutting federal agencies left and right without visualizing the impact of doing so. Now, if my sources are correct, we're looking for some folks who we let go from a nuclear based job a week or so ago. We're looking for them to come back now, trying to find them now. Why cut it before you visualize the impact that it would have? Who does that? What smart, intelligent person you know would do that, would shutter an entire agency or cut half of its workforce without sitting down first to determine what's the downstream effects of doing so? So, in light of this crisis, these three things I'm sharing with you: establishing a budget, formulating a savings plan, and number three, living within your means. It's going to be part of our recipe to survive, part of our recipe to somewhat thrive. For those living from paycheck to paycheck, live within your means. While it's tempting to keep up with the Joneses, the societal standards, and I hate they call that family the Joneses because I know some Jones and they're really, really good people and they're not necessarily wealthy people. But that's the cliche, keeping up with the Joneses. Let's just say while trying to keep up with societal standards, remember that true wealth is about financial freedom, not material possessions. You want to avoid unnecessary debt. While some of us cannot access our local banks, banks that we've been banking with for decades, can't access loans, business loans, without them scrutinizing every penny and where it's going, where it's coming from, and then telling you that you don't have good cash flow. We can access other banks outside of our own state, national online type banks. Oh, we can get loans. I know what I'm talking about. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You can access those, but why incur unnecessary debt? During this time, we must make wise spending decisions. Remember, money is just a tool that should be used to enhance our lives, not constrain them. It's a tool, but I would argue that it is a very necessary tool. You can't access health care without money. Oh, yeah, I've heard some people say, well, Dr. Liddell, I got both cards. What do you mean by both cards? I got Medicare and Medicaid. Okay, you have it right now. And just because you have Medicare and Medicaid, somebody still is footing the bill. There's money behind Medicare and Medicaid. They're paying your insurance. They are paying your health bills, your healthcare bills. Doctors, other healthcare professionals submit claims to Medicare, submit claims to Medicaid, and then they pay what they're going to pay. And many times that's not 100%. Yeah, they don't pay the whole bill. And I've heard some of you say, well, they if they don't pay the whole bill, you let that hospital send me a bill or you let that clinic send me a bill. I'm not paying anything. Wow. What an attitude to take. I think it's awful. The doctors, the nurse practitioners, and others who are running their clinics have staff to pay. The same sorts of expenses I listed off a moment ago. Been there, done that. I've had a clinic. I've had to pay nurses, phlebotomists, receptionists, billers and coders. So we want you to pay your bills. We want you to be a good pay mark. We want you to maintain good credit scores. So just because you have both cars doesn't mean that you are exempt from paying. I thank God that one group of people, our veterans, get to be taken care of by the VA Medical Center. I worked at the VA Medical Center when I was a medical student at the University of Iowa College of Medicine. I also had the honor of completing my internship and residency at the VA Medical Center, the highlight of my entire career. I absolutely loved it, taking care of our veterans. From the ICU to the emergency room, I absolutely loved it. Our heroes and sheroes coming back from, in some cases, war. And in other cases, peacetime, but still doing so much to maintain the safety and security of all of us here. It was my honor to take care of them. And so I am overly ecstatic that they receive their health care free of charge. But it saddens me that some veterans get out of the military, they are discharged, and some of them are not even told about the benefits for which they qualify. It's true. I'm so glad you're tuned into the Literacy Hour. You get to hear some things perhaps that you did not know. Go ahead and mark your calendars to join me next Tuesday, fourth Tuesday. We'll be exploring mental health and wellness in a deeper fashion. This morning, I've already told you that physical fitness and mental well being are two main factors that people consider when evaluating their overall health. And that there's a third factor that we must also consider, and that's our financial health. Our financial health can negatively impact our physical health. Our financial health can negatively impact our mental health. People can have a meltdown. People can actually go into a major depressive episode if they're not able to pay their bills, if they're not able to access um, uh, nutritious food for themselves or their children, their families. So you see how all this stuff is connected? Remember, the information shared during the literacy hour, either by the host or guest, is for educational purposes and does not constitute medical, legal, financial, or tax advice. For specific advice applicable to your situation, please contact a licensed certified professional. And for those of you who are sending me emails, I do see them and I might get a chance to respond to some of them during this show. We're in crisis mode. The call in number for the Literacy Hour is 601 714 TEST. That's 601 714 8378. And then they talk to us about building wealth and how important that is. I can't help but wonder, how much wealth will our people have? And I'm Black, by the way, in case you didn't know. I know I have some people listening from other states. You have sent me very nice and supportive notes, encouraging notes. I appreciate it. I didn't know if you knew whether, I'm Black or not. My race shouldn't matter, but when I say our people, I mean one of two things. I either mean Mississippians, okay, because I I absolutely love Mississippi. It's my home. And when I say us and our, I'm talking about my state, Mississippi. Um, and then sometimes, though, I drill it on down to our people, Black people. Did you know that due to a lack of nearby bank branches and for a host of other reasons, a large percentage of Black families are unbanked? Compared to the national average, low income households are 4 times more likely to be unbanked. Black households are 2.5 times more likely to fall into this category. And it's not me saying it. Yale did a study on this very issue. Yeah, Yale School of Management. You can look it up. Black households have less access to banks. They did the research. So why do some demographic groups visits banks less than others? Why do some demographic groups have less access to banks? We call that a disparity, you all. In other words, it's not right. It's an injustice. So, according to a new study that Yale's School of Management distributed, the researchers were Alexander Zentefis and Fejong Sakong. They said the primary barrier for Black households is a lack of nearby branches. That's what they said now. I wish I could have been there with them as they did their research so I could have also offered another perspective at the table. You see, that's why you need different perspectives. That's why you need diversity. They said that the primary barrier is a lack of nearby branches. I would have offered that the primary barrier for Black households not being banked is having no money or very little money to put in the bank. And now go study that. Let's look at that aspect of things. And nobody is crying or whining. I haven't seen Black folks crying and whining. I've seen them trying so very hard to make the ends meet. Parents trying to get their children to test taking solution for after school program, leaving one job, going to another, having the aunt or the uncle or the brother, sister, cousin pick up the child, drop the child off, not being able to make it because they had to work a little over today. The child suffers. And no, before you ask me, we don't offer transportation. You get me a van and we'll do it. When you get me a van driver, when you pay the salary of the van driver and benefits, please. Thank you. Oh, now we shut up about offering transportation, huh? You see, everything costs, you all. And unless you are very wealthy or have direct access to some banks somewhere, you're in crisis mode. Well, what about investments, Dr. Liddell? You've talked about that doing financial literacy. Where are we with that? Where we were doing well with it. You know, I've told you about some stocks that we were following, different options and things like that during this show. And you've come to my office. Somebody brought $100 to our center and donated it. Said, look, I invested in this particular stock you talked about. And it was NVIDIA at the time. I don't mind sharing it with you. But you check with your financial advisor before you do anything. And that's if you have one. You see how I know? A lot of you don't have a financial advisor. You don't have anybody you can call up on the phone and say, hey, what about this or what about that? You go with your gut, your common sense, or you listen to people whom you trust. This particular family trusted some things. They came to the center. They say, here's $100. We just made thousands of dollars off that stock. And we appreciated what they gave. Every dollar counts. And we were so thankful for it. So this study said that primary barrier for Black households is a lack of nearby branches. In contrast, low-income households tend to be close to banks, but seem less willing or able to use them. So saying that we're close to banks, low-income households Yale said that using banks can lead to benefits such as increased savings, financial literacy, and access to credit. Again, when you're reading studies and reviewing research, please, please, please always determine what group of folks they studied. And in this case, Yale looked at a group of Black households. And I would venture to say they must have been households up north, because had they been household down south, I mean, the word I get on the street is that some banks don't lead to benefits such as increased savings, financial literacy, and access to credit. That's what we've been talking about. It's an atrocity. But this Yale team says that those are the benefits that you're supposed to receive when you are banked. You should have increased savings, you should be financially literate, and you should have access to credit when you're banked. But some groups are less likely to use bank than others. They say compared to the national average, low-income households are 4 times more likely to be unbanked, and that Black households are 2.5 times more likely to fall into this category. I want you to read the entire research study for yourself. Again, Yale School of Management. The title of the study was Black Households and Access to Banks. You better read it before they take it down. I mean, because it looks like several reputable websites have been taking down any sort of reference to Black, any sort of reference to DEI. They're literally taking down the websites. I told you at the top of the hour, we're in crisis mode. Taking down statistics, health statistics that deal with diseases and disorders that occur most often in certain groups of people? What kind of sense does that make? Taking that data away. We make decisions based on the data, based on the science. Why take it away? That's what's happening, you all. It's still Black History Month, and I shared with you earlier this month a little less known Black history fact, compliments of Brother Jerry Mitchell of the Mississippi Today team. That's one of my favorite journalists of all time. Jerry Mitchell is an investigative reporter. He helped to put 4 Klansmen and a serial killer behind bars. His stories have helped to free people from death row. His stories have exposed injustices and corruption, prompting investigations and reforms. He's been the cause of the firings of some boards and officials who should not have had the positions in the first place. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner, a finalist actually. Look at me. I'm predicting because he should be a Pulitzer Prize winner. A longtime member of investigative reporters and editors, and he's won a lot of national awards. He even won the $500,000 MacArthur Genius Grant. He worked for a long time for Clarion Ledger, and then he left there in 2019 and founded the Mississippi Center for Investigative Reporting. The highlight of my life will be, another highlight, because the highlight of my life was helping the veterans and working at the VA Medical Center, and it was just unbelievable. Another very desirable highlight would be to have lunch with Mr. Jerry Mitchell. I'll just sit there and just let him talk. But he shared a little known Black history fact July 15 of last year, and he does this on this day. And so on this day, July 15th, and in 1867, Maggie Lee Walker, the first African American and first known female bank president to charter a bank in the United States, was born in Richmond, Virginia. I'm so excited and uh, impressed by this woman. I'm inspired by her. She championed help for impoverished people. She gave loans to Black Americans to start their businesses. Let us have a bank, she said, that will take the nickels and turn them into dollars. She also opened a store for Black Americans so they no longer had to use side doors and back entrances. And in 2017, Richmond, Virginia honored Miss Maggie Lee Lena Walker um, with a statue. It was the first of a series aimed at honoring such unsung heroes. So, some of you asked me after I spoke about her to tell you more. I'm so glad you're engaged. Thank you. I did just that. We researched so we could find out even more about this determined spirit of Maggie Lena Walker, someone whom I did not know before researching and a little less known Black history fact and learning it from Jerry Mitchell, who, by the way, if you didn't know, is a white man. You see how color shouldn't matter, race shouldn't matter, but we're in America and it does matter. And I just thank God that Mr. Mitchell decided to do the piece. Just a little piece, he was just letting us know that she lived and told us a little bit about her. And then I was so impressed. I had to do more research. And so my team and I did just that. And what we learned was that this woman devoted her life to civil rights advancement, economic empowerment, educational opportunities for African Americans, particularly during the Jim Crow era. Yeah, after slavery and sharecropping, there was another whole era we had to live through 100 years of Jim Crow. Unjust laws and rules, unfairness. As a bank president, a newspaper editor, a fraternal leader, Miss Walker was an inspiration of pride and progress. People looked up to her. Some folks still think we have the crabs in a bucket mentality, that when someone like Miss Maggie Lena Walker is doing well, the rest of us are pulling her back down inside the bucket. Do you have that crab mentality? I don't have the crab mentality. Never had it, don't want it. Keep it away from me. I love to see people do well. Ooh, and especially Mississippians. I love to see us do well. And this lady was doing well back in the 1860s. Today, her home is preserved as a tribute to her enduring legacy of vision, courage, and determination. As a matter of fact, her 160th birthday would have been last July. So there were a lot of community art events, special tours to celebrate her birthday. Again, a woman that I never learned about in school. She was born in 1864 and passed away in 1934. A long life. At the turn of the century, Maggie Lena Walker was one of the most foremost female business leaders in the United States. She gained national prominence when she became the first woman to own a bank in the United States. Walker's entrepreneurial skills transformed Black business practices while also inspiring other women to enter the field. She was born to enslaved parents. July 15, 1864, Richmond, Virginia. Slavery time. After the Civil War, her mom worked as a laundress and her dad as a butler in a popular Richmond hotel. You see, I'm delivering. You told me. You said, Dr. Liddell, I want to hear more about Maggie Lena Walker. I didn't learn about her either in school. Can you tell us more? And I told you, stay tuned. So thank you for the inquiry. Thank you for being engaged. You inspire me. Your tenacity, getting up this time of morning and being locked and loaded on the literacy hour. Thank you. You are my inspiration. You are my encouragement. You are why, at least a large part of the reason why I keep going. The largest part of that reason is Jesus Christ, my Father who art in heaven. Tune back in next Tuesday and I'll share some things with you that will hopefully help to keep you grounded and will help you to keep trusting God. But after the Civil War, a lot of things happened. Miss Walker's dad was killed, and she had to help her mom financially by working. Although his death was ruled a suicide, Walker later revealed that she believed he had been murdered. She attended a local school in Richmond and upon graduation began teaching. She stepped down from teaching after she married a successful brickmaker. When Walker was 14, she joined the Independent Order of St. Luke's, and that was an African American benevolent organization that helped the sick and elderly in Richmond. Never heard of it before this research. Within the organization, Walker held many high-ranking positions. In 1902, she began publishing the organization's newspaper called the St. Luke Herald. She encouraged African Americans in Richmond to harness their economic power by establishing their own institutions through the newspaper. She used that platform to encourage and inspire her fellow African Americans. She had always focused her efforts on accounting and math, something we do at Test Taking Solution. We focus on teaching children how to read and comprehend. And once they are able to do that, we turn an eagle's eye attention to math and science. Her first business endeavor was a community insurance company for women, and from there, she continued her entrepreneurial pursuits. In 1903, she founded the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank. Penny savings. She understood that pennies add up. Walker was the first woman of any race to charter a bank in the United States. Let me say that again. She was the first woman of any race to charter a bank in the United States. Say her name, Maggie Lena Walker. You go, girl. The bank was a powerful representation of Black self-help in the segregated South. You see, we've always found a way when folks were unfair and unjust, mean-spirited. The Penny Savings Bank not only attracted adults, but Walker worked to appeal to children. She taught children the importance of saving money. She passed out banks, little piggy banks, to encourage them to save their money. In 1915, her husband was killed by her son after he mistook him for a burglar. You see how even the lives of great activists and wonderful entrepreneurs is not an easy path. It's not a straight line. It's not a journey of roses. We all have our crosses to bear. And even this lady was not exempt. Her husband, the love of her life, being killed by her son. Put yourself in her shoes. At that moment in time, how dreadful, how painful that was. Two of the men she loved one mistakenly killing the other because he mistook him for a burglar. Picture the pain, experience that of that son, his dad. Oh, life has not been a crystal stair. We go through things, down in valleys and up mountains and around curves and cross ditches, and no one is exempt. Even Miss Maggie Lena Walker was not exempt. Her husband's passing away left her in charge of a very large estate. Don't forget, the man was a brickmaker, and he left her in charge of his estate. She continued working for the Order of St. Luke's, but also held leadership positions in other civic organizations, including something known as the National Association of Colored Women. Now, see, we're going to research that next. What happened to that? I never knew that there was an NACW. I've only just known about the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She served as the vice president of the Richmond chapter of that. By 1924, the penny savings bank had spread to other parts of Virginia. This lady scaled up, like I'm being asked to do with Test Taking Solution. Scale up, Dr. Liddell. We need one in North Jackson. We need one down in Hattiesburg. I've gotten your calls. I understand. I know. And trust me, I want to do it. You know the constraints. Help. So while other banks were collapsing during the Great Depression, St. Luke's penny savings survived. The bank eventually consolidated, though, with two other large banks and moved to downtown Richmond. And they tell me that it is still in operation today. After an illness in 1928, Miss Walker was forced to use a wheelchair. You see, her health began to deteriorate. Just keep on living. You see, that's why we also keep our mouths off of elderly people. In other words, don't talk negatively about your neighbor. You might be in that same position one day. Don't speak negatively about disabled people or people who require durable medical equipment, canes and wheelchairs and walkers and crutches. Don't just listen. If you can't say anything good, that's right. Don't say anything at all. This lady, after all she had done for so many people, she got ill. Because at some point, the human body will begin to fail. As perfect as God made it, as intricately as He designed it, we're going to die. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow for some, but it makes financial literacy even more important because it's really not about you. I mean, it's about you while you're living. And so you make sure that you're financially literate. You can take care of your bills and get some of the things that you want. But it's about who you will be leaving behind. What sort of bills will you be leaving behind for your next generation? What sort of constraints? What sort of pains? What sort of wealth? And so this lady was forced to use a wheelchair. Although limited in movement, she remained a leader in the Richmond African American community. You just can't keep good people down. You know you're not going to do it. When God has put something on somebody's heart to do, it will get done. What they say, not a devil in hell can stop it. We've had that showdown before, the devil against God. We know who won, and we know who will always win. So keep on keeping on. Just like Miss Maggie Lena Walker did. On December 15th, 1934, she died from complications of diabetes. Yeah, even in the 1930s, African Americans were suffering from diabetes. Her house in Richmond has since been designated a National Historic Landmark, and I can't wait to visit. I done been to Richmond, Virginia before, and no one ever told me about this lady. I did not know. And while I was over there, I could have gone to her house. You see how important it is to educate our children about our history? This lady has inspired me, and I hope that by talking about her this morning, I've inspired you. Thank you for your messages. I see them coming through. Someone said a few years back, Mississippi had 36% of people unbanked and underbanked. 36% of our own Mississippians unbanked and underbanked? And you know that when you were writing it, it just sounded awful because it is. Banks across South Jackson have shut down over the decades. Very few banks located in South Jackson or other entrenched all black neighborhoods. Thank you. Thank you for that comment, Mr. Hunter. I sure do appreciate that. That's knowledge. And it's lived experiences. You don't believe what we're saying, just drive through. Do a little drive by, not with guns, please. Just drive on by and check it out for yourself. Now watch the potholes. I'm telling you the truth. Almost tore my car up the other night coming off of the interstate. What's that? I-220 coming off over there near Mega Evers Boulevard. What is it? Northside Drive. Yeah, coming off from 220 coming down onto that. I think that is Mega Evers Boulevard that crosses Northside Drive. There's so many potholes right there. I mean, you're dodging potholes so you won't tear your tires up. Elections have consequences, you all. If you're not registered to vote, if you're eligible to vote, please get registered. You don't know how to register, call Test Taking Solution. We'll be glad to walk you through it. Or call the courthouse. Call your elected officials. That's what they've been elected to do. I know some of them don't respond to emails. Some don't answer phone calls. And then we'll see you out in public and say, oh, I hadn't read it yet or I hadn't seen it yet. Just stop the lies and just say you don't want to respond. Let's get some accountable people in office. Let me share a few announcements. I know I normally tell you a nice topic about financial literacy and ask you some questions to check your understanding. God led it a different way today, and I'm glad he did because we needed to talk. There's great news for some people, like the Golden Triangle. American Airlines flights connecting the Golden Triangle Regional Airport to Dallas Fort Worth has come online, and we're so excited. It's another win for Mississippi. We've always had Delta flying out of there. I know. Don't forget now, I grew up in Macon, Mississippi. I love North Mississippi. I love all of Mississippi, but the Golden Triangle, man, what a special nugget it is for our state. And so the Delta Airlines have always been flying out of that beautiful airport, the Golden Triangle Regional Airport. If you have not flown out of there, I invite you to do so. But not right now, not if it's a desire. Hold off on that want and that desire. Hold off on it for right now until we get out of this crisis. Okay. I'm serious. Take a walk, do something else. But getting in the air right about now, yes, I'm discouraging it for a number of reasons. One of which I won't even name. You've been watching the news. But just know that American Airlines is now flying out of there. Community Bank, an FDIC-backed bank, is partnering with Harvest Assembly Church. Thank God for Harvest Assembly. They care enough to put on a community credit workshop. That workshop is taking place February 22nd. Mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this event. It's a free event. 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. 5250 Forest Hill Road in Byram. They're going to serve a meal. They're going to be talking about first-time home buyership. And you might even learn information about how to qualify for $45,000 as a down payment assistance and more benefits for you to get a home. Now, I know some of you are saying a home where, Dr. Liddell? It's a housing shortage. I know all about it. We just don't have time on this show to get down into it. It's a lot going on. How to grow vegetables. That's another announcement I've been making for quite some time now. The MSU Extension Office and Mississippi Ag and Forestry Experiment Station, they're offering a 2-day vegetable short course on February 25th and 26th in Verona, Mississippi. I plan to be there. I've always wanted to know, watching my granddaddy be a farmer, growing all this wonderful vegetables and fruit, watermelons. I mean, man, we stayed out there in the garden with him. It was divine to be there next to him, watching him pick those cucumbers and teaching me how to do it. It was magical. So I've always wanted to learn how to do it. Growing tomatoes, lettuce, other crops via greenhouse. Now they're going to teach us how to do it via greenhouse, high tunnel, and field production. I'm looking forward to it. If you are interested, you've already missed pre-registration. It ended February 15, where you can pay $40 per person to attend the 2-day class. But you can still attend. On-site registration is $50 for both days. That's $25 per day. And it's up to you whether you attend one or both days, but the fee will cover your materials, your lunch, refreshments. Just give Mr. Jeff Wilson a call. Mr. Jeff Wilson. Write this number down, 662 566 8019, and let him know that you would like to attend. Listen, our third grade Reading Gate Boot Camp is coming up. We care about our third graders passing that test. We're Mississippians. We want to blow that test out of the water. March 10th through the 14th, Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. to about 5:15. People start picking up their kids around that time. 6 o'clock, we're shutting the doors. But we're going to be there. A third grade Reading Gate Boot Camp at Test Taking Solution. Go to our website, ttsfoundation.org, and click on the event calendar to learn more. I'm excited about it. A lady stopped by yesterday and said, sign my kid up. Here's the money. It's a free boot camp. But certainly, you already know, there are many expenses involved. I have to make sure that the salaries, the lights, the water, all the things we've been talking about during this financial literacy hour are paid for. So any donations would be very helpful, and don't have to be money. You can bring ice, you can bring fruits, vegetables. We'll check them because we just don't trust everything, and we have to make sure that our staff and our children are safe. But that's important. That's coming up, and we are so excited about it. There are some sponsorships available. And again, you can learn all about that by checking out the event on our website. Other than that, I want you to just remember what I said at the top of the hour, that our health is really our wealth. So for those of you who don't have health insurance, especially us women, with all the things that can go wrong with our bodies, including our reproductive systems, please visit the Mississippi State Department of Health's website, msdh.gov. Find out about the programs that they offer. Breast and cervical cancer program that allows you to get mammography screening, clinical breast exams, pelvic exams. If your insurance won't pay for it, the State Department of Health will find a way. And I just thank God for them. I'm glad they're here, and I hope none of their funding gets impacted by all these cuts. I would have shared with you about some available grants, but it's no need to even talk about them because we don't even know what's going on with them. We don't know. And so I won't even talk about those that are available today. Join me next time, and we'll talk about the Camp Lejeune Justice Act and at least where that stands, and PTSD from a VA rating standpoint. Listen, I've enjoyed talking with you today. I've enjoyed visiting with you. Join me next Tuesday when we will explore topics and news concerning mental health and wellness, and we'll share some helpful community resources. Again, if you'd like to be a guest on the show at any time, 601-714-8378. Have a great rest of your day. For the past 1 hour, you have been listening to the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution and your host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, MD, MBA. We are located at 2104 Thousand Oaks Drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Visit us on the web at www.testtakingsolution.com. Join us each Tuesday from 7 to 8 a.m. for another life-changing conversation here on our podcast live stream and affiliate stations.